All right, man. So Jeremy Boring has a couple of things to say in this video. I'll leave a link in the description for you to check out, and we're just gonna take some clips here. Very powerful. I did check this out last night, and this guy hit a lot of very interesting points. We're gonna start here in the chapter. He titled it "The World Feminism Has Wrought." Here we go.
The cruelty being directed at Erika Kirk isn't just online trolling. No, what we're watching is the natural and entirely foreseeable consequence of allowing the worst instincts of the female sex to become the dominant moral voice in our public square. This is the world feminism has wrought. The devouring mother, the witch, the negative feminine with all of its backbiting and slander, its gossip and innuendo. The archetype was explored by thinkers from Carl Jung to Jordan Peterson. These values now guide our online culture. The cruelty is predictable. It's traceable. It's the output of a 50-year cultural project that has elevated, organized, monetized, and amplified the negative feminine, all while systematically dismantling every social structure that previously held those negative instincts in check. It's mostly being driven by women, plus some men who've come to hate women. The two phenomena are deeply connected. But the central engine, the influencers, the audience, the pattern of attack, the entire ecosystem profiting from the pile-on is overwhelmingly female. It's female influencers training female audiences to direct female grievances at other women. For decades, the cultural left has waged a campaign against the male sex itself. The phrase toxic masculinity wasn't used to describe certain negative characteristics associated with men. No, it was used to describe the entire range of maleness itself. It redefined the male sex as a category of being that requires constant public chastening, perpetual self-suspicion, and ongoing supervision by people who don't like men, they don't understand men, and they have no particular interest in raising boys to be the kind of men a healthy civilization needs in order to function. See, men tend to be more aggressive, to take risks, to build hierarchies, and they concern themselves with dangers posed by outgroup threats. You can blame it on that performance-enhancing drug every man is on, testosterone. It's easy to see where those instincts might lead if they're unconstrained by discipline and morality. Dominance by force, rape, murder, theft, tyranny. But when masculinity is constrained, when it's channeled by self-control and moral systems, well, then it becomes civilization-building virtue. Aggression becomes rightly ordered ambition and competition. Risk-taking becomes entrepreneurship and a willingness to go into new frontiers to build a better life. Hierarchies become governments who subdue wrongdoers and create safety, and that concern with outgroup threats becomes defense of all the things that man has built. In short, positive masculinity. Now, women tend to be more relational, more attuned to social dynamics, more risk-averse, and more concerned with in-group harmony than out-group threats. Every woman is shaped by powerful biological systems, hormonal and neurological, that enhance bonding and empathy and sensitivity to status and reputation. It's also easy to see where those sorts of instincts might lead if unconstrained by discipline and morality. Gossip, manipulation, exclusion, reputational destruction, and a kind of soft tyranny exercised through social pressure rather than force. But when femininity is constrained, when it's channeled by self-control and moral systems, well, it becomes a civilization-sustaining virtue. Men build civilizations, women sustain and nurture them. That female relational awareness becomes the ability to build trust and strong families and communities. Sensitivity to social dynamics becomes moral discernment and the enforcement of healthy norms. Risk aversion becomes prudence and the preservation of all that has been built. And that concern with in-group harmony, well, that becomes the creation of cohesion and stability within the group. In short, positive femininity. Now, the failure modes of the female sex have been documented in human literature and theology for thousands of years. The Greeks gave us Medea, who murdered her own children to take revenge on the husband who left her. The Old Testament gave us Jezebel, who corrupted a king and used the machinery of royal power to murder a man for his vineyard. Shakespeare gave us Lady Macbeth, who pushed her husband into a regicide he didn't have the stomach for. This isn't comfortable to modern ears, I realize, but modern academic psychology has actually caught up, if only recently. Researchers like Nikki Crick developed the field study of what they call relational aggression, the cruelty conducted through gossip and exclusion and reputational sabotage rather than fists. These behaviors are well documented in childhood and adolescent peer groups and have been observed in related forms in college, workplaces, and online settings. Early studies consistently found that girls, on average, engaged in more relational aggression than boys. In other words, there is such a thing as toxic femininity. In groups, women have a remarkable tendency to generate moral codes, and they police violations of those codes with remarkable ferocity. In 6th grade, the first girl who holds hands with her boyfriend gets called a slut. But by the 7th grade, all the girls hold hands with their boyfriends, and that's no longer the standard. But the first girl who kisses her boyfriend, well, she gets called a slut. By 8th grade, all the girls kiss their boyfriends, and the bar moves yet again. The first girl to go to first base, she's the slut, and on and on. The bar keeps moving year after year with the same dynamic. The standard is whatever the second most aggressive girl in the room has not yet done. The first one to cross the line, well, she's in for it. The codes, when unmoored, are mostly arbitrary in the sense that they shift decade after decade, culture to culture. But what doesn't shift is that policing function. In a healthy society, men check the worst excesses of the female policing function, just like women check some of the worst excesses of men. But where women tend to be the most cruel in their in-group enforcements is against other women. Women subject each other to terrible and unfair judgments. And
real quick here, because I don't want to interrupt too much here, but I've worked with females in jobs that I've had in the past, jobs that I hold today. And I'll tell you, man, when they open up to you, and the hate between them in the workplace is beyond compare. I don't understand what it is. I don't get what drives it. Men in the workplace don't really have that, but I've seen it. And then they form little groups, like he's saying here, like we're back in grade school, and they want you to pick a side. And you hear it like, I can't believe she came dressed like that today. Like, what was she thinking? And things like this, ridiculous things. But guys, we're different. And I see it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It's crazy.
That's what's currently being applied to Erika Kirk. She's violated a code. The code is arbitrary. As far as I can reconstruct it from the campaign I've witnessed, it goes something like this. A widow whose husband was murdered should grieve in a particular, visible way. Not too composed or she's cold. Not too uncomposed or she's performing. She shouldn't appear at public events too soon or she doesn't really love her husband, but she shouldn't stay home for too long either or she's hiding from something. She shouldn't speak in public or she's using his death for her own aggrandizement, but she certainly shouldn't stay silent. That would be concealing.
Yeah, damn if you do, damn if you don't. And he's hitting it here hard, man.
See, the standard is whatever Erika Kirk is not currently doing. That's why the standard always convicts her. And the women applying the standard get to feel righteous in its application. This pattern is well documented, but our culture has done nothing about it. The same 15 years that produced the toxic masculinity campaign, the academic field, the HR modules, the Netflix documentaries, the Sunday op-eds, it's produced no comparable reckoning with its parallel in women. Men became a category that requires constant public chastisement. Women became a category beyond critique. All masculine virtue has been redefined as sin. All feminine sin has been redefined as virtue.
Damn.
The whole thing is flipped right on its head. That redefinition has consequences, and now we're living through them. The architects of this cultural project promised that liberating women from the older expectations would produce happier women, liberated women, women fully realized. But they were wrong. Across every major measure, women's self-reported happiness has been falling for 50 years. The most cited paper on the subject, The Paradox of Declining Female Happiness, published in 2009 by economists Betsy Stevenson and Justin Wolfers, found that women's happiness has declined both absolutely and relative to men across every major US and European dataset going back to the 1970s. This despite the creation of SSRI drugs, which 20% of women currently take. That decline in women's happiness began at almost exactly the moment the Cultural Revolution achieved its core policy goals. Roe v. Wade in 1973, the collapse of fault-based divorce across the states from 1970 onward, Title IX in 1972, the mainstreaming of the birth control pill, the accelerating entry of women into professional workplaces, the simultaneous redefinition of motherhood from the central work of a woman's life to just one option among many, and increasingly a suspect one at that. Whatever the architects of these changes promised, the one thing they didn't produce, measurably, decade after decade, is happier women. Marriage rates among women under 40 are the lowest in recorded American history. About half of women under 40 are currently married, compared with roughly 70% of all U.S. adults being married in 1960. The U.S. fertility rate is at or near the lowest it has ever been. The current total fertility rate is about 1.62, well below the 2.1 required to sustain our population. And we've been below the replacement rate continuously since 2007. About 47% of childless American adults under the age of 50 now say they're unlikely to ever have children. That figure's been rising, and the rise is most pronounced among college-educated women in their 30s. In fact, American men are now far more likely than American women to say they want to be parents. According to Pew's 2023 survey, 57% of childless young men say they one day want to have children, while only 45% of childless young women say the same. That's a 12-point gap. And of course, when American women do marry, they leave at an alarming rate. Approximately 70% of American divorces are initiated by the wife. 70%. And contrary to what some assume, that figure is not driven by abuse. In survey after survey, abuse isn't even in the top tier of reasons given.
So I recommend watching this here. I thought it was interesting what he was saying about, that women went unchecked and, they had this whole thing about toxic masculinity. And I've seen it in my culture, in the Hispanic culture. They call them toxicas. That's what they call them. Like, that's what the female toxic, and they embrace their toxicity. And for whatever reason, men go along with it, or I should say boys. It's very sick to see. But this guy is not wrong. I recommend watching the whole thing again. I'll leave a link in the description to the whole video. I recommend watching it. He hits on a lot of points. Towards the end of the message, he's saying, like, just leave Erika Kirk the hell alone. Just leave her alone. And women need to shut the fuck up. That's the bottom line. Women that are engaging in these kind of things need to be more precise. Women that are engaging in those kind of things, you need to shut the fuck up. And if you don't got anything good to say, don't fucking say anything at all. Keep your comments to yourself, right? Didn't they teach you anything in school? Did you not have the right upbringing, right? Just shut the fuck up. If you need to feel self-righteous, explore why that is. Where is it that you're failing, that you have a need to come out and, virtue signal to everybody, right? So that would be my message in this video, right? If you're engaging in those kind of things, I urge you to shut the fuck up, right? And that's all I got to say about it. You guys know what to do. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, share, follow, repost, all of that good stuff. And I will see you all in the next one, man. Peace.